once again had an experience in a movie theater. I'm having one of those moments. I am having one of those moments. And before I say what the movie was, I want you all to guess. I just had an experience in a movie theater, and I have got to talk about it. And it is a good thing that I have just the platform to do that. Welcome to Coffee Nick's Movie Picks, a freshly brewed coffee and movie review podcast for you. My name is Nick Delaney, and I'm your show host, former barista turned coffee snob, self-declared movie critic, and the guy who has something to say about I Saw the TV Glow, directed by Jane Schoenbrunn, and this week's movie review. In order to discuss this one, we'll need a warm, relaxing, calming, and inviting drink in hand. So, for this week's coffee review, I'll be discussing the High Five from Grit Coffee in Richmond, Virginia. Please take a seat, stay a while, and let's discuss almost needing to walk out of a movie theater because you're sobbing. Just a little. It was just a little bit. It wasn't that bad. But I was the only one, I think. Anyways, but first, as always, please be sure to follow at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks on Instagram. There you can stay up to date on new releases, see coffee pictures that go along with each episode, get some quick movie thoughts from yours truly, and submit Dear Coffee Nick letters that I'll read at the end of each episode. Again, that's at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks on Instagram. If you're not following the Instagram, that's like walking out of the movie before the ending. Who does that? I want to do a pulse check. How are we doing? I feel like it's been forever since we've talked about movies or coffee, but it really has not. But it has been forever since it's been just you and me. I've had a lot of really amazing guests on the podcast recently, and I've had so much fun with them. But it's also nice to just, I don't know, talk into the void. I'm just kidding. It's actually nicer to have a guest. I love having guests on. So speaking of that, have you all listened to Zach's new album, Music for You and Your Friends? It came out. It came out on the 17th. So if you have not listened yet, there is still time to do so. There's actually a lot of time to do so, but you should listen to it right now. It is out there for everyone, so you can listen to it and then listen to my review if that's how you want to do it. But yes, I did review that album before it came out, and I had so much fun doing that. And I had so much fun on the Challengers episode, which was the last full-length episode I did, where Zach and I talked a little bit about the album and his creative process and everything. It was so much fun. And in case you're wondering, talking about my guest before Zach, I'm still thinking about Twin Peaks. My mind is still there. For my birthday, I actually just got the History of Twin Peaks book. So I'm going to do more reading on the lore. I'm going to become even more insufferable about it. And you best believe I'm going to continue to talk about Twin Peaks on this podcast. Yeah. But how are we doing? Think about it. If you haven't had the time recently to think how you're doing, take a moment right now. Okay, now I'm going to talk about myself. My emotions have been everywhere recently. I watched La La Land this past weekend, and I felt it was very relatable. So I think that is representative of how I have been doing. Yeah, that is such a good movie, though. But I don't even know if I can talk about La La Land on here. And it's also one of those movies where it's like, what am I going to say about it that everyone else has not said? You know, I just think some movies I'm like, I have nothing new to add to the conversation, so I'm just not going to talk about it. But then again, some movies I just like to yap about that are like, you know, everyone knows that they're good, but I'm still going to yap about it because that's what I do here. I just yap. I also rewatched Lady Bird, and I don't know how many times I've seen that movie, but since I've had Letterboxd, I've reviewed it 5 times. And every time I review it, I write several paragraphs. And also, it's not like I'm saying the same thing over and over. Like, I'm talking about a new thing every single time. So, when I inevitably review Ladybird on this podcasting platform, God help us, because oh my gosh, that is going to be like a 5 hour episode. I'm actually, that's just going to be a live stream that like never ends. Me talking about Ladybird. And then let's not even get to Frances Ha. Let's not even get to Little Women. Barbie. I think I do have something to say about Barbie. I have something to say about all of them because you know I have researched these things. I did go to school for this. I have something to say. I'm just acting. Oh my gosh. This is what I do now. I just come on the mic and I act crazy and I act goofy and just say stuff, but I kind of love that. Which this reminds me. This is the 8th episode of Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. If you've been listening from the beginning, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If this is your first episode, thanks so much. I appreciate it. I'm so happy to have this podcast, and it's been so much fun to just, have this in my back pocket, even as I've started like this new job that's taking a lot of my time. This has still been a priority for me, and I've still been having so much fun doing this. So, to those of you listening, thank you for listening. And, if you're just listening to have fun, or if you're listening because you trust my reviews, or if you're listening just for the coffee part, I love all of you. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And I am going to continue finding ways to add to this show and to improve upon it, and also to focus it more. And, at some points I just want it to be kind of like a talk show, and like maybe like the coffee and the movies are just something we touch on each episode. Especially like when I have a guest like Zach on, like I really want to talk about his music and the creative process. And then also, of course, the movie and the coffee are the cornerstones, but still, it's really nice for this just to be like kind of like a talk show platform as well. Because like I said, I'm a yapper and I like not talking into a void. That was no one talking back to me. But yes, only 8 episodes so far. So this isn't like a milestone, like 10 episodes or anything. But if we're counting bonus episodes, hey, which have a lot of work put into them, then it is 10 episodes. So, but I just wanted to do a check-in and say thank you to everyone. I will say that this summer, I would like to start making a video element for the podcast. I got these fancy new headphones and I have a fancy microphone, and I've kind of given up on having like a green screen or like a set behind me because that's kind of impossible. So I think at some point or another, I'm going to get like a ring light and a tripod, and that's kind of all I need. And I'm going to do video podcasts because I think that'd be really cool. And also it would give me an excuse to like make little TikToks and stuff. So that'd be fun. But yes, enough of that. Just know I have big plans coming up. And I have a series. Yes, there will be a series of episodes that will be very special, and I'm going to put a lot of time and attention and love into that series of episodes. It's going to be at least 4 episodes long. So just kind of like a departure from like our normal structure, still going to be movies and coffee, but there's going to be a special theme to it. And I'm really excited about it. I am going to have a lot of fun with it. And hopefully that means you guys will have a lot of fun with it too. But oh my God, let me stop talking and get to why we're actually here. All right. Now brewing. This is our luxury coffee discussion and review segment. Now brewing in today's episode is a high 5 from Grit Coffee in Richmond, Virginia. You may be asking, what is a high 5? This is just the name they give to the drink. It is a packet of sugar with espresso pulled over top, then steamed cream or milk, half and half, and then salt crystals on the foam. And the baristas were very specific in mentioning salt crystals, not just any old salt. So I don't really know if they were just kind of embellishing that word, or if there's actually like a special little salt crystal. But this is pretty much just a cortado drink. And if you don't know, a cortado is equal parts espresso and steamed milk. But the salt adds a depth to like that classic drink that I think is very simple, but also very refreshing and unique. There's a really nice balance in this drink of sweet and salty, and it almost reminds me of a pretzel, which I think is really good. And I think, weird for a coffee, but I like it a lot. Yeah, so very simple drink, but there's is like this added element to it. It's just something so little that really elevates what would otherwise be just a very basic drink. And even though it is basic, it's still good. I mean, the ingredients they were using were good. It was foamed to perfection. And yeah. And I love that even though there is salt in this drink, I love that caramel is not included because I feel like anytime we're, especially with coffee, if we're talking about salt, they want to have like this little salted caramel moment. And don't get me wrong, I love a salted caramel cold brew or whatever, but it's nice to just have like salt be used as an ingredient without caramel. We can have like just her by herself. We don't need the duo all the time. Even though she's popular for a reason, we know that. This drink does risk being a little simple, but it is made extremely well. Like I said, it's delicious and it's just like a really nice afternoon pick-me-up. Not only this, I want to talk about Grit Coffee a little bit. It's a lovely coffee house, and I think there's multiple locations. I am not super familiar with Richmond, but this was kind of in like Cary. Is there a Cary Road? Cary Street? I think. I don't know. But kind of like where all the hustle and bustle is, located by a Raising Cane's, which that's how I think of everything geographically, is like, where is the nearest Raising Cane's? Which I do not live near Raising Cane's. I have to travel for it. But that did not stop me from eating it 2 days back to back this past weekend. Anyways, it's by a Raising Cane's on something Cary related. What am I talking about? The coffee house. Yes. It's just like a very like bright space. It's one wall is entirely windows, so I really like that like natural light that comes in, and it has like very high ceilings, and it honestly feels like a little bit empty, but I mean that in a really good way. The baristas here, I've been here twice now. The baristas are really, really nice, like gold stars for the baristas. Each time they've like talked to us and gotten to like, asking us what we were doing today and like, how things are going, just very like what you would expect from like a barista, like just very friendly. And I feel like that kind of element of a barista has been lost through time, which I don't blame it because, COVID happened and I feel like that changed barista life so much. But yes, very welcoming environment here. And this is a great place to get work done. There's so many people in there doing work every time I go. But yes, it's a lovely coffee house and they have nice merchandise too. So definitely go for that. I've not tried their food though, so I'm not sure about that, but it looks good. So the high five cortado, or whatever we're calling it, I'm going to give that the Nick pick. Like I said, it's a little simple, but gets the job done. It's very unique. It has that little extra element of flavor. It's good. It's good. So now that we have our coffee in hand, and by coffee, I mean I have a Coke, and I do the full flavor. I don't do Diet Coke. I don't do Coke Zero. I like a full flavor, full sugar Coke. I don't know if that's good for you, but I heard artificial sweeteners are not good for you. So I just get the regular. And I don't know if that's like better than artificial sweeteners or if it's like just worse because you're just getting like all that sugar. I don't know. There's just like no right or wrong in this situation. How am I supposed? I am literally, I'm just, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? If they had LaCroix if they had sparkling water at like every little drink fountain at every restaurant, I'd be getting that, but they don't. I mean, you can't get like the carbonated water, but that is kind of nasty. I want sparkling water. There's a difference between carbonated water and sparkling water. Anyways, I have a Coke with me. So get yourself a drink, go and run out and grab a high five if you want to, because we are going to have our coffee thought. This segment is an outlet dedicated to voice my many incoherent thoughts over a lovely cup of coffee. Today's coffee thought, the Coca Cola that I have on my person currently is from a restaurant called Chipotle. Chipotle, 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 blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I don't care. Just, I know what you mean. I'm not going to correct you. I think the correct pronunciation is Chipotle, but I'm not even sure. So how can I get mad at you? But I believe that to be true. So that's what I say. But there are many different truths here. That is today's coffee thought is Chipotle. Now, my family, we love Chipotle. We went to Chipotle every single week. Every Sunday we would go. Since I was maybe 12, 13, maybe. Like it's been 10 years now. And it's not like strictly every week anymore, but I feel like we somehow end up there every week. When I was going to college, I definitely went every week, twice a week. And I feel like Chipotle has just changed so much over time. I think that like when I started going there, it was so good. And then I went to college, and I've heard this from many people, and it's true for me. College Chipotles suck balls and ass. If you live on a college campus, the nearest Chipotle sucks. And that's what I want to get into a little bit here. It is such a horrendous experience. And I mean, so I do feel bad for them because I feel like that's just like the go-to place for college students is Chipotle. And they get flooded. I mean, I hate mobile orders because there is no way to kind of like funnel the mobile orders. So like, if a million people are placing them, you only get like one every minute or something. They just get them all at once. And that means when I get there to pick up my food, I'm going to be waiting 45 minutes after the scheduled time to pick up my bowl. And that's fine because I mean, I look behind the counter and they're moving as fast as they can. It's not like they're just standing there doing nothing because then I would get mad. They're moving. That's fine. I understand. I hate mobile orders too. I used to work at the chain coffee corporate shop right next door. We struggled with mobile orders too. But that would be my thought process. But at this particular Chipotle, there was wickedness afoot. There was villainy at hand. It was just always something. And it's not even like, some common occurrence that I can place my finger on. It was like I would be like, oh, I just need a Chipotle bowl right now because, that just is like a replenishing meal. It's filling and I can get it under $10 if I need to. And so I walk across campus 15 minutes or so. I get to Chipotle and they have this unofficial sign on the door that says dining room closed, mobile orders only. And that's when I look inside and they are just standing around. And, it looks so peaceful. And that's fine. I'm happy for them. But for real. And there's this huge crowd of people outside standing in front of this Chipotle, like all placing mobile orders. And then, like, every time that an order is ready, they have to come to the door and, like, be like, where's the order for Nick? And they're screaming and they have to keep walking back and forth from the back of the store to the front door. And it's just chaos. Or you would go, no. You would place a mobile order and, it's fine. Dining room is open. Mobile orders are happening. Whatever. Everything is normal. And you'd place your mobile order unsuspecting. You'd grab it. You'd walk all the way back to your dorm room. So like 30 minutes round trip, not including however long you had to wait inside the Chipotle. And you'd get back to your dorm room and your Chipotle bowl would be rice, chicken, sour cream, and lettuce. Huh? What? That doesn't seem right. And they would be out of fajita veggies, which I get extra of. They'd be out of like the most random stuff, salsa, whatever. I don't know. And they don't mark it out on their system, so I can know like, oh, they're down bad right now. I don't want to place an order for a Chipotle bowl there. They would just kind of like wait for you to find out yourself after you paid the money, after you walk there, after you walk back to your dorm room, and you take that first bite, and it tastes like a glob of sour cream. That's villainous. Like, at least update the app. Like, that cannot take too long. I don't think. I'm probably making, if a Chipotle employee listens to this, I'm making them really mad right now. And I will say, Chipotle seems like a back breaking job. I could absolutely not do it at all. Like, it just seems really hard. And like, they make all of that food and everything. And I know they have to do a ton of prep, and I know they have to stay super late for closing, but that's no reason to be rude to me or to, I don't know, really short my order. Give me the wrong thing. I mean, if you're going to give me the wrong thing, just tell me and I'll go somewhere else. I'll give you less business, less work to do because I think that's what they want. Yeah, in at this Chipotle I was thinking of specifically, the employees were just straight out mean. It was just an unpleasant experience, and by the end of my college career, I think the most important lesson I learned was not a part of my degree curriculum. I learned that I need to stop spending my money at that Chipotle location or any Chipotle location that is adjacent to a college campus because they suck. But yeah, Chipotle, I love it. The food is so good and it makes me feel rejuvenated, refreshed, and like I just had a well balanced meal. But oh my gosh, that one from around my college campus was horrible. But the one I just went to tonight was really good. The chicken al pastor is really good. And so this is what I do. I get white rice, extra fajita veggies, the chicken or the chicken al pastor, medium salsa, light sour cream, cheese and lettuce. Oh, and corn. I hate beans. No, I don't want beans. That's disgusting. Ugh. You want me to be tootin' all night? No, thank you. I do not want to be tootin' all night. I do not want beans. No, I don't toot. That's not something I do or want to do. Why would you ask me that? Um, and it really hit tonight. It was good. And with a full strength, full sugar Coca Cola. Yeah, that was yummy. That was really yummy. But to me, Chipotle means good times. So many times in college, like I, would hang out with people over a nice Chipotle bowl and we'd like watch a show. And I feel like I learned so much about myself while I was like eating Chipotle with my friend. Uh, and I think of one friend specifically. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like a meal of unity and self discovery and good times. Like every time I eat Chipotle now, I'm going to think of college. Even though the Chipotle at college was shitty, it just did what it needed to do most of the time. But yeah, I feel like something in the universe has changed how good Chipotle is. And I think, my theory, I think it has a lot to do with the rice. The rice is not quite as cilantro y or salty as I remember it. And I think that really is like what the issue is here. So, and I think that's because people started getting pissy about the cilantro flavor and be like, oh, it tastes like soap. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. Shut up. I love cilantro. Anyways, I have been talking far too long about things that are not movies. So let's get into movies. Now showing our feature ideological analysis and critical film review segment by yours truly. Now showing I Saw the TV Glow. I Saw the TV Glow is directed by Jane Schoenbrunn and is the story and life of Owen, played by Justice Smith. Being a child to an abusive father and sick mother, Owen escapes his adolescence by sneaking away to watch his favorite show, The Pink Opaque, with Maddie, played by Bridget Lundy Payne. After entering high school with Maddie and growing increasingly obsessed with the show forbidden by his father, Owen is devastated to find the show abruptly canceled and Maddie mysteriously disappeared. As he lives his life out, Owen is confronted with signs that suggest The Pink Opaque is more than just a TV show. I am going to try to get into this movie without any spoilers. But at one point, I will lift the spoilers and I will make it clear when I do. But I want to make my reviews more accessible to people that like watch or listen to the reviews before they watch the movie, because some people listen before, some people listen after. So I'm going to try to make it more clear when I start talking about spoilers. So continue if you have not seen this movie yet, please. This is a movie that masters its one specific message and story very well. I really appreciate movies that can do that. A lot of movies these days feel the need to comment on and talk about a million different things. And that's okay because some movies do that really well. A lot of movies do not, though, because that is a very hard thing to do. But it is also a very hard thing to do to talk about one thing or to depict one thing and do it very, very well. And this movie masters that one thing that it talks about. Not only this, it is a movie with a message and actual plot beats that could be interpreted extremely differently based on the viewer. Me and the person I saw this with had very, very different interpretations of what was going on in the movie. And I want to use this time as a reminder that I'm not trying to speak to what I thought the director intended, because I do not know them and I do not know what they intended. I am only talking about what I interpreted. So you could come out of this movie with something completely different and be like, what was Nick talking about? And that's okay. And I want you all to feel differently than me or feel the same, whatever you get out of it. But I think that this is a very interesting and very important movie to talk about. And I hope that more conversations happen surrounding this movie. I'm sorry, but it is time to move on from Sexy Tennis Movie. I'm so sorry. I know we'll never move on, but let's move the conversation forward. Let's progress a little bit. It'll be okay. It'll be okay, Twitter. We can talk about a different movie now. So what works so well is that we don't start out knowing much of anything about what is happening in this movie. If you saw the trailers for this movie, you know that very little is revealed, even though it kind of shows stuff from like all throughout the movie. As I look back, this story, it's very much like layers are being peeled away to reveal something. There's something at the core that we want to see. And I really appreciate and admire how this was done. No moments, and I'm going to say this with emphasis, at Argyle, no moments in this movie were meant to be a twist. It was just an artful unraveling of a story and its central character. I think that that is so much more impactful and long-lasting than any twist is. A twist to me is sort of like a temporary fix in movies. It's something really like quick and fun and exciting and thrilling. But I don't know. I feel like twists can tend to be more forgettable, or twists that we have today, they're just cheap. But this movie, nothing here was a twist. It was just unraveling. And when things were revealed, or I guess not even revealed, when they were kind of like explored more, it was kind of like, I kind of like could see that happening. It all made sense. Nothing was a shock. And I mean that in the best way possible. Another thing about this movie is that it is very style forward. A lot of times the aesthetics, and for a lack of better word, the vibe of this movie take the driver's seat and they are the focus. And I feel that that works so well. The movie wonderfully plays tribute and homage to and is inspired by the creepypasta era of the internet. And I really like this and enjoy this because it does it so well. It fits right into this and it feels like something that I would read on the internet back in 2013. it just does that thing so well. And I really applaud it for that. And to make that work, Jane, the director, I think employed like a lot of the visual elements and the setting and even the way the characters spoke all served this specific style. A lot of the characters had this very drony way of speaking. There's no other word to describe the characters but glum, which I don't blame them. I would be glum if I was living through this situation in this world as well. There is very strong direction here. It is a very specific feeling you get watching this, and yeah. One choice I'm really obsessed with about this film is that we get to see so much of the TV show, The Pink Opaque, that Owen is so obsessed with. This really drove the style of the movie at times. The Pink Opaque had vibrant colors, cool and genuinely terrifying creature designs, and watching this made me feel like a 13-year-old listening to creepypasta on YouTube again. These scenes, and by extension, this film, really transport you to this time and this age and this set of emotions. You're just as obsessed watching this movie and just as relating to it as Owen is obsessed to the Pink Opaque and relating to those characters. It's so good. It's so good. The style is spectacular. And I almost want to see I just want to see the Pink Opaque like made into an actual show. And I hate saying that because I do not want this to be like IP-ified, where IP-ified. Oh my god. So what does that mean? IP-ified. I do not want this to be like the sequel, the prequel. You know what I'm saying? IP turned into an IP, an intellectual property. We'll say it like that. But you know what I mean? Like, I just want to see more is what I'm saying. Like, I was really obsessed with these scenes where we're just watching the show. And I love that we just got to watch the show at some times. And I want to see more of that in A24. I know you can make it happen because I saw what you did for X and for Talk to Me. So let's do that. And I also, A24 is starting to get into like IP. And I think that they do IP in a way that is respectful. So if anyone's going to do it, I trust A24. But yes, watching these scenes really transport you to kind of the same place where these characters are. And I appreciate that about this movie. Another scene that was very style heavy and really stood out to me was a scene at a bar where there were bands performing. And I love this scene because Phoebe Bridgers is in this movie. What? What? Hey, Phoebe. That is my bestie. Oh no, Siri, go away. I didn't say Siri. Yes, Phoebe Bridgers is in it. We won! Woo! No, but yeah. And the entire feature song, titled Claw Machine, by Sloppy Jane, featuring Phoebe Bridgers, I think the entire feature song was performed in this scene, or at least most of it. And this reminded me a lot of Here It Comes, Twin Peaks Season 3. In every episode of Season 3, they stopped the episode at one point. It was usually towards the end you just watch like a band or a singer perform like a full song. And it really reminded me of that. And I loved that. Because we see this full song performed and we see Phoebe. And then there's like this really intense conversation that happens kind of as the song is ending. And then when the next song starts, that song is also really great. And that one is Barry by King Woman. And that song was electrifying. And I feel like from that point on in this movie, the electrification did not stop. And that's actually coming out of this movie. The person I saw it with, that is how I described seeing this movie was I feel like I was just electrocuted. There came a point in this movie where I sat in a spot and I did not move from that spot for the rest of the movie. I had goosebumps. I was frozen. I was just entranced by this movie. And a horrifying way, because after that moment, it just completely goes downhill. Which that's not a spoiler because I feel like that's pretty obvious. It's not a happy end in here. Nope. So, talking about wrapping up the style conversation a bit, all of these serve the film so well and they transport you into these world and to these emotions. They bring these emotions to the forefront. They make you feel as if you are also in this world and experiencing these things. Uh, I love it. It's done so well. All of this, though, serves a greater purpose. I think all of this makes this message and this subtext all the more effective and impactful. This is where a lot of the interpretation comes in. So, like I said, this is just me interpreting. You might think something completely different. The director, Jane, probably thought something completely different too. So, let's just talk about it. And this is also, listen closely, this is also where I will be discussing spoilers. So if you do not want spoilers, skip ahead. Maybe don't. Oh, well, yeah, I guess bye. Come back when you watch the movie. Or listen to another episode. Spoilers. Spoilers. Okay, here we go. So, this movie, we know that Owen is repressing something, is repressing a part of his identity. And I think really like the first big hint we have at this is when Owen is finally in high school with Maddie and they're sitting on the bleachers and Maddie has that quote where she's like, I like girls, right? And Owen was like, kind of said nothing. And Maddie was like, well, who do you like? And he said, I think I just really like TV shows. And a lot of the dialogue they say very slowly and strung out, which I appreciate as well. The performances, let's talk about that. The performances were amazing. Justice Smith. Wow. There was so much happening with his performance. I'm just in awe of this performance from Justice Smith. But anyways, we get the idea that Owen is repressing a part of his identity. We don't really know what, but throughout the movie, we see Owen connecting to the character of Isabel from The Pink Opaque a lot. And in some moments, he even sees himself as her. And we also, towards the end of the movie, get glimpses of Owen with Maddie. And Maddie, is with Owen and he tries on a dress and he's looking at himself in the mirror with a dress on. We never really know for sure anything about Owen's identity. We just know that there is a repression of a queer identity here. And this is something that Owen's character never comes to terms with. And we learn later in the film, after Maddie has disappeared and The Pink Opaque was canceled years and years later, Maddie just comes out of nowhere and tells Owen basically that The Pink Opaque was real and that, all these crazy things, really. I can't even get into everything that Maddie was saying, but The Pink Opaque was real and they are The Pink Opaque. And the show is about them, really. And they are the two girls from The Pink Opaque that met at a summer camp. This is where a lot of the interpretation comes in. Like I said, I interpret that to mean that the summer camp that, the Pink Opaque characters were a part of, that was actually like a conversion therapy camp for Maddie and Owen's character. And I think that this movie has a lot to do with trauma and kind of repressing trauma and distancing yourself from trauma. At one point, Owen watches the final episode of The Pink Opaque, which Maddie recorded for him on a VHS. And the episode, like I said, there's a lot going on in it. But at one point, one of the characters shakes a snow globe. And it's a snow globe of young Owen watching the TV show. So he's watching a TV show that has him in it, watching the TV show. And in that moment, I feel like what Maddie was saying was true. And at that moment, I sort of realized, or what I interpreted was, This is Owen watching, it's him distancing himself from a very traumatic experience. It's him distancing himself so that he can know himself in a way. He doesn't have to become that part of himself, but he can watch it on a screen. Um, and there's a lot of visuals of like Owen smashing his head into the television set, sort of like wanting to become that version of himself. And his father comes in and finds him. And like, it's just a really disturbing scene where his father kind of like power washes Owen in the shower. And there's like, he throws up TV static in the shower, almost kind of washing out that fantasy of himself or that idealized version of himself. And then after that, for the rest of the movie, Owen kind of like goes on to live his life, completely without that part of his identity. And there's even a part where, 20 years later, Owen is watching the Pink Opaque on streaming services, and it's nothing like he remembered it, and it just feels cheesy now. So sort of like that idealized version of himself has soured, and he feels like it's too late to return to that because it feels childish in a way, which isn't true. And the movie ends with Owen never returning to that, and not having that. And the ending is just very surreal. It's deeply disturbing. I was very moved by it. It was a lot, and it's not for the faint of heart. I don't know. I just really attached myself to this movie. It spoke a lot about trauma and, how people process trauma, having to distance yourself from it in order to process it. You have to kind of view it through a screen almost. And, it also sort of commented on how, especially queer people, they use television shows to sort of represent them, or they use fictional characters, these kind of like written, larger than life people that are completely free to be themselves. They identify with that, they relate to that. And, not just queer people, anyone can do that. And there's also, so much subtext here to be interpreted from a trans perspective, but it's just so well written and it's beautiful. And like I said, it is so impressive for a film to be able to have so many avenues of interpretation for so many different people. And I applaud this film. This is a beautiful, beautiful film. Another thing that Owen's character does is that he, towards the end especially, addresses the camera directly. And he tells the audience that he has a family that he loves and he's happy, and we never see that family. So he's almost sort of an unreliable narrator towards the end. And he, even with the audience, puts up this facade and he makes it seem like everything is fine. I kind of want to leave on this note right here. My favorite shot in this movie, and definitely from this point on, one of my all-time favorite shots of all time in any movie. There's a shot right before like the really kind of devastating parts that are showing Owen's future. There's a shot of this street with a bunch of chalk, like sidewalk chalk art on it. And it just says at the end of the street, "There is still time." I think that is that I think is the most important part of this movie. We see this character that sort of believed that he ran out of time and that there wasn't time to go back and to reconnect with this part of his identity. It was a very unhappy ending for Owen, but there is this very explicit message in the movie that says there is still time. And I thought that was very beautiful. It's telling the audiences, if they think it's ever too late to discover a part of their identity or to embrace a part of their identity, that it's not too late and there is still time. And this sidewalk chalk was actually drawn in front of a house in the movie. And basically throughout the movie, Owen would tell his mom that he was having a sleepover with this friend, and he would go to this house and then run away to Maddie's house to watch the Pink Opaque. And at one point, after Owen's mother dies, he goes back to the house and he is just sobbing to the mom of this childhood friend he had, telling her that he needs to tell the truth, he needs to come clean. So this house almost represents sort of like a moment of transparency that Owen had, where he was honest with himself and the people around him, and he was vulnerable and authentic. So I think it was really beautiful that this powerful message was written in front of that house, kind of just connecting it all together. So yeah, I think that this movie and its subtext and its message are infinitely important. And I just think that this movie needs to be put in the Hall of Fame. This is a classic. This is necessary. Everyone needs to watch this, and everyone needs to hear and see this message. Jane Schoenbrunn, thank you for making this movie. This is a beautiful masterpiece. And with all of that said, I am going to give I Saw the TV Glow the Nick pick. I Saw the TV Glow is an emotional, necessary, and beautiful film that transported me to a moment in time, to a set of emotions, and to many realizations. This film is a standout example of why I love film, what it can do for people, the power this medium can hold, and the purposes it can have. The unique blend of subtext and style in I Saw the TV Glow is a haunting, unforgettable, important, and somehow hopeful cautionary tale about facing reality and being the person you are, no matter the stage in life. Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, I recommend this movie. I think you should watch it. I encourage you to watch it, but please be warned, it is disturbing. And it's not even just like, it's like, oh, scary. It's like it will kind of like rattle you to your core. It did for me, at least. And maybe I'm just the exception, but it definitely resonated with me. And I think it can resonate with you even if you have not experienced these things, or you don't think you're the target audience. I think everyone can learn something from this movie. Like I said, it is very necessary and it's very important. So please go watch it if it's showing in a theater near you. I know this is kind of like a limited release movie that A24 is loving to do this year, but please go see it if you can. Now for some Dear Coffee Nick. In this segment, I'll be reading some letters from fellow coffee and movie enjoyers about their own coffee and movie opinions, reviews, thoughts, hot takes, or just whatever. Now, our first Dear Coffee Nick is from the lovely, the talented, and the movie-loving Reese. Reese says, Dear Coffee Nick, what type of horror films / creatures / concepts scare you the most? From Reese. This is a hard question. Because it's nothing like specific. It's kind of like when someone asks me what my type is. Two very different questions: horror movie monsters and what my type is. It's just like kind of, it depends. But I will say something that always gets me is home invasion. I have an irrational fear of like my safe space being just abruptly invaded. Sort of like if I'm just laying in bed and someone busts the door down and like, I don't know, comes at me with a knife or something. That's a huge fear of mine, because I don't know. I feel like my room, or like something I determine as a safe space, is impenetrable, and it, like, I don't think anything bad can come in. So when something does, it really is like truly terrifying to me. Like if someone tries to come into my room, like pass through while I'm sleeping, I have like a closet or like a storage room attached to my room, which is a weird fun fact, I guess. So sometimes family members that I'm living with need to pass through to get something. And if that happens while I'm sleeping, it has not ended well in the past. Yeah. That's a big fear of mine. Although I don't know if I've ever watched a home invasion movie that has really scared me. I've never seen The Strangers, which I know is like, you know, in the box office right now, and doing horribly. I will say, movies that do really scare me, Hereditary is one. And I think that movie is really scary. And when I first watched it in high school, really shook me to my core because it all felt so real. And it's Ari Aster, you know, he has a way of doing that. it just all seems like things that could happen, at least until the very end it did. And it's just truly like tragic and psychologically horrifying situations. And it really messes with my head and disturbs me when I watch movies like that. But I was always really scared of the alien, the xenomorph from the Alien movies when I was a kid. But now I just love the alien. I mean, so cool, right? Um, so it turned into something like I admire. Yeah, I don't know. Barbarian was very scary because I that feels very real and it was such a slow burn. That's the scariest movie I've seen, which you know that. And yeah, it was just kind of like that shroud of mystery and suspense, and you know, you knew so little about the movie going in. That's one of those movies that I would pay anything to like watch for the first time again. It was just such an experience, and we had that together. I cherish that memory so much. And that is all we have for Dear Coffee Nick. If you would like to send in a letter for me to read, please feel free to write Dear Coffee Nick through DM on Instagram or email coffeenicksmoviepics@gmail.com. I really love responding to the things you guys write, so please do it. But with that, I am coming to a close. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the show. And like I said, thank you for listening to the show. I'm really excited to just keep making it. And this has really become like exactly what I needed. This is a great outlet to talk about something I'm passionate about. And even like, I just enjoy like designing the things on social media, like on Instagram so much. So it's become a great outlet for that too. So thank you for giving me this platform and to just for allowing me this outlet. It really means a lot. And I can't even repay you guys for it. It's very heartwarming. It's very touching. Okay, I don't know what that was. I'm getting off of this microphone. So thank you for tuning into this episode of Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. If you like what you heard, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Follow the show's accounts on social media and share the show with your friends. Please do that. That really helps. It really does. I would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I'm going to be complaining yet also adoring Chipotle. I will see you then. Stop the presses. Stop the presses. The next episode, it's going to be a double feature where I talk about Catwoman and Madam Web. So get ready for that. It's going to be a time. All right. I will talk to y'all later. See ya. Thanks again for listening to Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. Our opening theme is Summer Solstice on the June Planet, and our closing theme is I Feel It All So Deeply, both songs by Bell Bonds. Before you go, please be sure to follow the show on social media at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks, and give the show the Nick pick by rating it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Thanks so much.